Hi, how are you? My name is Diana Jethibethaibran, and I'm here because I'm led to give you my telling and my experience of being what is known as transsexual in Western terms. So, at least for me, I can only ever speak for me. And for me, I have this whiteboard just to help me place a time frame. I know you can't see it, and I apologize for that. This is just to get me into frame. So, for me, this is always who I was. This was always who I was. And in my head, I always saw, I didn't see like details, but what the silhouette I saw was an hourglass. It was nice, curvilicious. And yeah, that's always what I saw in my head. From the youngest memories I had, I remember wearing my sister's clothes. And I always did that. Not for... And when I was a kid, it was never as 101 at the time. But as a kid, it was never as, like, a weird thing. It was just, these clothes feel better. They feel better to wear. So that's why I did it. I'll be vulnerable. I remember fucking being in the big laundry, like dirty laundry, and taking stuff there. That's vulnerable. That said, I always had God. I really did. I always had God, the Most High God, always in my corner, for as long as I can remember. That was always my image, or that was always my experience. And the image I always crafted was they were my Fairly Odd parents. That's how I envisioned them. Really, that's how I envisioned the Old God. The Old God. So, yeah, for me, this whole thing, my whole life was mainstream programming telling me not to transition. Where nature would just have me as this. Like, this is what it was. And yeah, nuclear family was like, no, don't transition. Nuclear family. So I always had those notions, and I remember watching Fairly Odd Parents, and I remember making a wish. I remember always making a wish just to wake up like this, to wake up like this, to wake up like this. And I have, and I do, every day. Is a blessing, is a miracle. I'm a testimony of God. So, again, I would do this, like, just dressing in clothes things, and it was just natural to me. It was just natural. So then, really, as I got a bit older, and I can't really necessarily point an age, but from before I was 13, I'd honestly harken back to 9. But, so like 9 to 13, I remember asking my mom for an endocrinologist. That was it. I never said, oh, I feel like a girl, I feel like this, I feel like that. No, that was never it for me. For me, it was just, I need the endocrinologist. Why? Because I knew I need the hormones. Like, I knew that if I didn't speak up for myself, if I didn't speak for the dream, for the image, for the painting that I wanted, for the painting I wanted, for the art piece I wanted to create, this is what I needed, and I needed to learn to speak up for myself. So I did that. I learned to ask and learned to keep asking, but I had to learn, and I write self-battle here because I had to learn to stand in my own ground, be firm, be stern, be concrete, and no, this is actually what I mean. This is actually what I mean. And this goes for in relationships with other people, to ourselves. We gotta be real, and we gotta be certain. And the self-battle here that I write, honestly, I could change to just self-certainty. So, again, now we've reached 18, and this is already a big leap, but yeah, in this whole thing is just as I started to get older, the younger child image started to get muddled, and the self-certainty started to get a bit foggy. And as I've done the shadow work, as I've done quote shadow work, quote healing, I practically imagine it and I practically feel it and live as if I'm just connected to this child self. That's how it's worked out for me, is I just embody this, and it's amazing. I love it. It's the most beautiful thing, and it allows such a beautiful filter on life, such a beautiful perspective and clarity for me. So 18, I get this another self-certainty, and that self-certainty comes out on my 18th birthday. And what happens is I go to tell my parent, well, okay, so I remember telling my sister in the garage on the stairs. I told Katie, and then my mind's eye sees me and my mom walking down the stairs. So I guess I told her in like the kitchen or something, and then we were walking down to go tell my dad. And I remember very much my dad just saying, listen, I just care if you're happy. I just care if you're happy. That's it. And so I came out, and it was not a big deal, really. Really. That being said, it was not a big deal on the surface, but there was very much tension underneath the surface of my parents having an image they want me to live up to, of my parents seeing things they wanted me to do things their way, and this wasn't their way. Long story short, really, I'll say that's a feminine aspect. So, and that is always the two-faced support, is that's cool, and so that's the two-faced support, and I describe it also as how I live now is my dream job, and I get paid to be me, which is amazing. It's such a blessing. It's such a blessing that I just get to spread these testimonials, these miracles, and just how amazing really you are. And through you, God lives amazingly, and we get to see all your beauty and all of God's beauty, and it's just amazing. So I did this. I come out to my family, like, officially. They already knew. I would always wear girls' clothes anyway. I would literally, I ran home from school. The only time I was in boys' clothes was when I was at school. And even then, I'm not even kidding, later on, I would wear my outfits underneath. And as soon as I ran home, I would strip off. I always was naked anyway in life. I prefer to be naked. So I would just strip these clothes off and put on the clothes that I preferred. So I'd go home and just fucking play video games in my girls' clothes, because that's what felt nice. And the girls' clothes were the closest I could get to the identity so far. Because there was a blockage in self-acceptance. So the clothes were an avenue, but they were an avenue to self-acceptance. And this is coming through me reflecting right now. So I come out in March to them on my birthday, and that goes however it goes. It's like, whatever. I still don't, nothing really changes. I'm still just running home wearing whatever clothes I want. And yeah, just being that. And I'll even add on to this, so like 18, 23 to 13, dude, all this time, I would, again, especially as the programming would set in later on, as society speaks to us. Later on, I would constantly build up these wardrobes and be like, oh no, this isn't me, and then I would throw it away. That said, I'd like to also give you a practical therapy in again, just for me, I can only speak, but when I think of something, when I think of an A or B, a yes or a no, I sit there, and when I think about it, I go, should I do this? The no hesitation answer, when I don't think and the answer just comes, that's the answer. And everything else is an excuse. And that's at least what I learned through my experience. So later on, after graduation comes, I take these shrooms. Now, the shrooms is, the reason I say this is, since 8th grade to 12th grade, what would those ages be? 12 to 18? I did my best work to astral project. So for me, mushrooms, I was going for, I want to astral project. There is a brown cardinal right now. He's growing his feathers, just like me. That's so cool. I can't wait to see Buddy when he comes back. So yeah. So after graduation, I go with Pat. I'm babysitting my friend Bennett's house, and I go with Pat to the city to go get mushrooms. That's a whole adventure in of itself. And so we get back to Bennett's house, and we take these shrooms. This is my first experience. I didn't know much going in, and about psychedelics, it was just whatever. So I have whatever experience I have. There was whatever notable. But the real notable is this was, I remember I went to go to sleep. I was like, okay, this is fine. I've had enough of this. I'm going to go to sleep and wake up. No, that didn't happen. So I got up and I went to the bathroom. And when I went to the bathroom, I looked at myself, and I just looked at myself and I said, listen, you got to wake up in the clothes that you want. You have to wake up how you want. That's it. So that's what I've said initially, was you have to wake up how you want. And I interpreted that as, I need to wake up in the clothes I'm comfortable in. So I told Pat, and I said, Pat, I need to go home. Like, just being courteous. Like, Pat, I gotta go home. And like a good person, he was like, no, you can't, like, don't drive. And I was like, I understand, but this is my journey. I have to do this. Thank you. So I actually did end up telling Pat, this is how I feel. And to my knowledge, until I was 23, until I came out officially, Pat kept his word, to my knowledge. So that's pretty cool to think. It'd be nice to know. So Pat, if that's true, let me know, please. I would love to know. So even still, that all happened at 18. And 18 to 23. So I cemented that. I woke up, I drove home, and I was like, nope, this is it. 18 to 23, still, I needed, everything comes in threes, right? So I needed something to convince me. So I really try. Again, I'm having this programming, I'm having this society say, I need to be a certain way. And in my head, it interpreted as nuclear family. That's what's intended, and that's what's projected. That's the fulfill. So I tried my best. I tried my best to be a guy. Now, I could be a guy. I could like hang out. I was accepted. I was loved. Everyone appreciated me. Everyone loved me, and still everyone does. It's just the nature. It's just my energy. That said, me when I say trying to be a guy, the thing that I really couldn't do was sex. I couldn't do sex. Like, it just didn't work. So what that meant was that I couldn't lie to another person, aka another female, in a relationship. And so I remember somewhere along this path, I think it was, where I was selling weed, so it was probably like 20. There was this one girl, and it just worked. I'm gonna be vulgar. We had intercourse, and it just worked. I orgasmed. I was like, oh my goodness, but, so this is important. That moment happened, and as that moment happened, I went, oh wow, I could fake this. Once that happened, I could fake this. My mask blew away. My mask crumbled. So, practically, what did that mean? Practically, I understood that, alright, it would be a lie. And that would be the most dishonest thing. So we're lying, and we can't do this. Alright. So I can't, I can't be with the, whatever. So, again, through rationalization, somehow, I ended up with a transgendered person as my partner. And through that, I lived vicariously. Because what I wrote here, while I was saying this story on live, I wrote, I will be what you want. And so I can live vicariously. And that I know exactly what she wanted. I know exactly what they wanted. So I will give exactly what you want. So I can live vicariously, like watching a movie. But that didn't... Look where I am now. Figure it out. So what ended up happening actually with my partner was, again, what a crazy breakthrough this was. I was having this and we were gonna have sex, and she asked me, she said, do you want to wear a bra? And that opened everything to me. Because I said yes. She said, do you want to wear my bra? And I said yes. And it just, what the universe told me in that moment, what I told myself in that moment was yes. Yes, I can. Actually, I can do this. And, alright, so watch this. This is how quick everything fucking folded after this. That was January of 21. April 2nd was the first day I went on hormones. The first day I went on hormones, my mind went clear in a calm. Not as like a wiping or anything, but my mind was so clear when I took it. And again, I could just hear better than I ever could. And that was a certainty. That was a confirmation. Okay, so that's April. Now, by next April, I have already, by this April 2nd, I take hormones. By the end of this April of 21, do I already change my name to Diana Jethabrun? Now, I fast forward a year later, the next April, I have a date for surgery. So, and watch this. So, let's back up. April happens. The summer of 21, I realized that, these consultations for surgeries are years away sometimes. I gotta start calling and just calling and just calling. So, over the summer I make phone calls. October 21. The first week or two of October, I get a call back from Mount Sinai. And what do I hear? I hear that somebody has canceled a consultation. There's an opening. There's an opening in March. Would you like it? Absolutely. Absolutely, sir. Everything. And I appreciate your call, your time, and your consideration. And I will see you in March. Thank you, sir. That's the first 2 weeks of October. Now, in the last 2 weeks, which I will, just a little story. So, in the last 2 weeks, I go to the psych ward. Why do I go to the psych ward? So, I go to the psych ward because the partner that I treated who asked me to wear a bra, I treated very unfairly. And I realized that it wasn't from me. So, my car died. My dad came up to me, and I called him, and I was just sitting there crying, and I didn't know he was there. He opened the door, he screamed at me, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong? And in that moment, I would do that to my partner. I would say, shut up, what's wrong? So the reason I went into the psych ward was I wanted to talk to my dad about this. Like, dude, whatever. And he didn't want to talk at the time. So that's the reason I went in there. The psych ward was such an enlightening experience. I very much encourage my students and my people, my family, to be very open to wherever knowledge springs forth. Now, the psych ward was an incredible experience for me. When I came out of it, I had visions. I had visions of healing. I had healing visions for the world, other than me. And now that I say this on the camera, I remember another one. So, what I learned in the psych ward, I learned how to meditate. So much media, so much content, so many people, so many conversations, and so many books. Everything was so prominent. Afterwards, I remember this very clearly. I was in the shower, and I had a trip. I had what would be like a psychedelic trip. So I was in the shower, and I remember I was like, God, can we just confirm, is this the truth? Is this the truth? Okay, what happened? I remember opening my eyes, and I remember seeing life how it was. I remember my body how it was. I remember seeing my body how it was. I remember hearing my voice how it was. And everything was as it was. And I remember closing my eyes, and I remember saying, whatever the truth is, let it be shown when I opened. Whatever it is. That said, I did. I trusted it would be this. I prayed for this. I hoped for this. When I opened my eyes, this was this. My voice returned. I couldn't talk like how I did. And it was just another confirmation. Okay, so that's March. Or that's October. Fast forward. And the timeline is important. So fast forward to March. I get the consultation. And what happens during this? So I'm getting qualified for surgery. What is cool about the whole experience is that in April, I'm qualified after a year. So, and in April, I'm qualified after the psych ward visit. They were like, we need a couple months after this for you to be, 6 months, I'm pretty sure, for you to be cleared. So it all lined up in April anyway. It was perfect. So I get my date set. I am a very spiritual person, so my date set was November 8th, 22. Now, it was the beaver moon. There was a blood eclipse in New York visible. There was great astrological signs, and that was set then. And it was crazy. So, let's fast forward. And let's fast forward getting to the surgery date. Now, beforehand to the surgery date, I partook in another shrooms because I was like, okay, I've thought about this sober a lot. It's getting close to it, so let's have a different perspective of thinking about this and confirm it. What happened during this trip? This trip was a very important trip. So what happened was I was getting comfortable with the idea. I was watching Neon Genesis at the time, so the idea of unity was very prominent. Very prominent. And I remember my partner at the time actually quite got frustrated. My butt just ripped. I just ripped my pants. Not cool. So my partner got frustrated with me, actually. I was like getting emotional, blah, 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 whatever. And this is for the purpose of healing and vulnerability, but they went down on me. And when they went down on me, everything felt as it should be. Now, everything felt as it would be after the surgery. Exactly as it would be. Now, it would then take me 2 years after that to understand that feeling. And all these cardinals are surrounding me. It would take me another 2 years to understand that. But I understood it in that moment, what would happen. And those 2 years of healing was an incredible, incredible journey of strength. Like, I knew I was strong. I've always been a skater. I've broken many a bones, and I've always been up and good. And I'm just staring at this cardinal, and I just really feel him giving me strength. I just really feel them, and they feel really beautiful. They're not red yet, but they're brown. It's October. So, the surgery was for me. My partner at the time, I could just read that they would prefer me not to get it. They would prefer, their perfect image was me beforehand, but my journey required me to go through with it. So, I did. And it was so incredibly painful. It was so difficult. It was so tough. I don't like it. Now I'm staring at a cardinal that's beautiful and red. But it was that blood shed onto new light and cleansed, just like Yeshua's blood cleanses. And dilating was incredibly painful those first months. Holy smokes, it was crazy. I got surgery 5 months later. After surgery, I'm still barely able to like move, and we had to move. So now we get the bus, and yeah, that was like, I really pushed myself to fucking to work on this bus. I pushed myself so hard even when I couldn't stand. And then I remember I was getting nervous, because the only thing I was getting nervous of, I literally, before surgery, I should have prefaced this, before surgery, right before going under, I said, "Doc, is everything gonna work?" And he said, "That's the plan." He just bumped into me. Dude, the bird just flew into the window. But I asked Doc, I was like, "Yo, is everything gonna work?" He said, "That's the plan." I was like, "That's psychotic." And then I just fucking went through it because I trusted. Alright, I gotta tone my voice. So, what happened? I was getting nervous. I was like, "Yo, I want to really, what I mean function." I was like, "Yo, I kind of want to like orgasm. Like, I just want to make sure this works." Seriously, my whole butt just fucking ripped open. I just sewed it too. Wow, it was actually the stuff I sewed. So yeah. So, after surgery, well, yeah, surgery was crazy. So like that happened. It was only 3 days in the hospital. I actually did a healing ritual of my own beforehand. Aligned with the blood moon, everything was fucking golden. And every time I went, Dr. Ting did the surgery. And I remember the first real checkup, because they took the stitches out, and then December, 2nd month in, I had a real checkup. He was like, he literally went like this. He went, "You're unmarkably well healed. How are you healed this well?" So again, I'm strong and I have a really good healing factor. And that's still why I say this is so difficult. This is so strong. So fast forward again, we'll fast forward another 3 months. She's telling me in the meantime, massage everything, because I was like, "Yo, I just like, really what I'm looking for is an orgasm, just to add confirmation that everything works." So I remember actually buying a vibrator just to massage. I remember sitting watching fucking GoDaddy commercials, and I just say that because it's funny in my head, but I just remember just like sitting there fucking wand on clit watching GoDaddy commercials. And I remember it just like, it was happening. And when it happened, here's the thing. It happened. I orgasmed, everything. I was like, "Oh my goodness, here's confirmation. I can like rest easy now. Now I can rest and actually heal." What happened? What happened after that? So I'm working on the bus. And my back started hurting. Long story short, my back started hurting, and I found out my kidneys were infected, because whatever happened when I orgasmed, I got an infection, and it went to my kidneys, and I had sepsis. So it went on long enough. Like my partner at the time was like harking at me like, "Oh, you're old, because it was near my birth." Okay. So I remember. So my partner. So my partner at the time, they were laughing at me. They were like, "Oh, your back hurts. You're old, this and that." And I remember going to the hospital after so long, and I was like, "Dude, I'm not trying to be a bitch, but my back hurts. My back hurts, buddy." And he was like, "Yeah, your kidneys are infected." Well, actually, so what happened? He was like, "Oh, well, that's okay. Like, we're gonna do some blood tests and we're gonna see what's up." I leave the hospital, and then the next day they call me and they were like, "Yo, you need to come back here. You need to come back." And it's because I had sepsis. My blood was infected. Long story short, again, fast forward, so I get that. 2 months later, same thing happens. Yeah, same thing happens. I like masturbate and I get another thing and whatever. So after that, yeah, that's whole healing journey. I lost my train of thought because it died. So I'm gonna come back. I guess I'm gonna record a different video for the healing. But that was the coming out. So I guess the surgery is a different video. I love you guys. God bless you. And actually, 1 second. Like, seriously, God bless you. I really appreciate if you're ever in need of healing, if you're ever in need of a community, I'm here for you. I have people behind me, the tribe behind me, the beautiful people. If I am not here and available to help you, to talk to you, to hear you, to give you space, to heal you, we got homies here that really want to help. Because they're all just beautiful. They're all beautiful. They're as beautiful mirrors and reflections that you are. That you provide that everyone else sees. These are those people too. Like, you found your home here. And we all love you. And I'm so grateful for you, for your time, and that you've got to know me on a deeper level. So God bless you. I hope to see you soon.